everyone. Welcome to Donna's Happy Hour. I want to thank you for joining me tonight. Today, I am going to step out of the box a little bit, and I have a live show that we're shooting at the Blue Arrow Farm. And I know you've probably, if you've been following me, you've seen this band before, the JDA Project. I am so excited because they have a ton of originals that they're going to be doing for us. And we're going to have probably some surprise guests coming on during the night. So we are going to be filming this live. So grab your drinks, whatever they may be, because I'm hoping you'll spend the next hour with me.
That was interesting. This is a song called "The Tide Has Turned Away."
Thank you.
Joel, Arna, thank you so much for joining me. It has been 3 years since they were last on, right?
Yeah.
Donna's Happy Hour. And, you know, I ask most of my guests because I find it kind of interesting how people dealt with COVID. And I find it very interesting that a lot of my musician friends and artists took a bad situation and, turned it around. And I say that by meaning that if, let's say, they were out of work, which many of my friends lost gigs, and they found more time to get into the studio to record. Did you do any of that, or?
You want me? Briefly. No, we couldn't get in the studio to record new material, but that's because there was some things happened. And last time you saw us, the bass player and the drummer were replaced.
Oh, okay.
So this will be our first performance. So we have Frank Coda on bass.
Okay.
So it's Frank Coda. I'll say it, clearly.
Right.
And then Don Hughes on drums and vocals.
Okay.
And then the rest of us are the same people. Don Pitts, should be here soon, and then us too.
Shortly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He went the wrong way.
Right.
Yeah. That's all right.
That's all right. Right.
And so we first got Frank. We still had our previous drummer, Robbie. And then one circumstance or after another, it became evident we were going to need to replace the drummer too. And we got Don recently, in the last, 3 months?
Yeah.
About 3-4 months?
About 3-4 months.
But he's just a quick study, and he's just
great.
amazing, and he's
great.
he's a great drummer and everything. And I'd like to say, and I actually feel it, we sound better than we ever did, honestly.
It's interesting. One of the things that I have, I could be wrong, and you can correct me, but I feel that replacing a drummer seems to be like the hardest.
Yeah.
And maybe, obviously, if let's say you lost a lead singer, that would be kind of
that
tough
would be
too.
rough.
Well, especially if a singer is so charismatic, so identified with the sound of a band. A lot of times they are.
Right.
And sometimes it depends on the type of band it is, I suppose.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, the circumstances were simple. Our former bass player was a great guy, but there were situations, and he ended up moving.
Right.
And kind of pushed us in a corner, but in a positive way. So we ended up shifting our home base.
Right.
And then we started looking for a bass player.
Well, that's the thing with any kind of groups, whether it be a music group or an art group or, whatever. People have lives, things happen in their lives, and situations change, and you are kind of sometimes, held, got the bag here that, you got to fill. I do want to ask, because you're going to be doing both original and covers.
Right.
Now, I will tell the audience, you're going to see only originals on my show, because that's how it has to be. But which I would think, is great for you guys.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Are any of these new songs, or are any that you did 3 years ago?
There's some we did 3 years ago, and there's some we've never played before. A couple that we've never played at all.
Oh, really?
They were recorded,
wonderful.
but we never played them live.
Right.
Okay. Interesting.
And then there'll be certainly a couple more than a couple that you've never heard us play.
Right.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
I love that.
Over the years we've had 4 CDs worth of material. CDs. I'm dating myself here.
Okay.
So there's a lot of original material to draw upon. So.
Right.
Yeah, we kind of started looking at the inventory, so to speak, and what could we play with this new lineup? What could we just bring that? I guess it's because in my head I was trying to level the playing field. Like we've recorded these songs, we haven't played them since we recorded them. So we got to learn them all over again too.
Right.
Right.
And we made little changes, just like made them our own. Like let the guys put their own stamp on it and they make suggestions.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They're not just playing with the band; they're in the band.
Right. Right.
And
I love the fact.
I want to make that distinction.
Right.
They
Yeah.
really are.
Right. I love the fact that, especially like I said with the drummer, to me it's so important because they
Absolutely.
drive the beat.
That's right.
I mean, this is.
That's a part of the foundation.
Right, and I find it really, really heartwarming when, like you said, like you feel that like this is the really kind of the best,
lineup.
Yeah, that you.
Well,
really
the three of us have
with-
always been close, since we started hanging out.
Right.
But
Okay.
we were fine with everybody we played with on a personal level. I mean, it's not
Right.
that's never been that.
That's never that. Okay.
But are we the greatest musicians in the world? I would say not.
No.
But we know what we want to do, and we created the music, the original music anyway.
Right.
With the exception of the live recording we made, everything else, and that's made of music that we'd already recorded.
Right.
We never play up. Well, we created it. Is
Right.
where I'm going, and so we know what we want to do. And we know what we want to sound like, but we also know that the reality is you play with people
Right.
who weren't on it, and so you have to let them have some freedom.
Right.
Absolutely.
Getting back to what you were saying a minute ago, it's been my experience anyway, in any band I've ever been in, when the rhythm section is tight and the two guys, the bass player and the drummer, lock in,
Right.
everybody else sounds so much better.
That is,
It's foundation.
I have obviously, because this is kind of what I'm doing now, interviewing bands and solo artists and everything else. But I also, in my free time, go home and I watch a lot of documentaries on bands. And I find it very interesting that if you have the bass guitarist and the drummer really clicking, that really, I guess, drives the whole thing,
Foundation is the word I come up with.
Is that, yes, yeah.
That's the way
Absolutely.
that's got to have that.
It's still a work in progress because every rehearsal is a work in progress. But we see it all the time. The interaction I'm seeing between these two guys, the two new guys, they listen to each other, not just in the conversation,
Right.
but if they make a decision, they talk about something they want to do, and then they execute it, and then they remember it. That's the key thing.
Right,
They don't
right.
forget it by the next time we get together. They keep doing it.
Right, they
It
keep
becomes
going, right.
it becomes canon,
That's really interesting.
and it just
I
and it's always something better.
see that? That's
And also they're very if something we don't really like, we just tell them it's okay. It's like
right.
it's not that we're like say no, that's not. It's not like that. It's we just talk. The main thing is we discuss.
Right. And that's a huge part of things because as well, and especially I guess as bands become, let's say, get a real following and become bigger and bigger and bigger, then the egos start to become bigger and bigger and bigger. And if you can obviously avoid that and keep everybody, sitting there going, we're in it to enjoy it, to grow, musically.
I used to play in a band, several bands, where a lot of the music entailed a lot of like soloing, like what I mean soloing, like a lot of guys just the band supporting another instrument, like the lead instrument, extended songs and stuff. That was fun, but in this band, it's been my general policy is, and I think it's really everybody's policy. We serve the song. So whatever the song is, whether it's our song or it's a cover song, we do what's necessary.
Do what's necessary. That makes sense to me.
And when we play covers, for example, we don't necessarily play everything note for note, but we try to get the right feel, and we try to capture the essence of what the artist wanted or was trying to do, and then we try to interpret the best we can. And so there'll be a little of that tonight. I don't think we're going to play any cover exactly the way it's recorded, because some of it we couldn't possibly reproduce without 17 people.
Right.
But we do it pretty well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it because I really enjoyed when I had you on the show 3 years ago. And like I said, knowing that you're really enjoying all the band members that you have makes a difference. It really does make a difference.
In the distance, a darkened path awaits you. Do you see them in your dreams? Going, moving, climbing motion. Something clear to the theme. And I'm running to the Bluestown. Yes, I'm running to the sea. I'm running to the Heartstone. Yes, I'm running. Come with me. Moving over to silent pathways, silent singers come around, ever changing from the motion, always clinging to the sound. And I'm running in the moonlight. Yes, I'm running to the stage. And I'm running in the half light. Yes, I'm running. Set us free. Something this way comes to the call of our silence. Something never closes on its way. Something this way comes in the form of our resistance. Could it be the love of the day? As I tell you what I'm feeling closely, do you see it on your face? Walk the weakness, we continue boldly. Movements in our grace, and we're running to the Heartstone. Yes, we're running. Call the song. Oh, we're running, set in motion. Yes, we're running, set us free. This way comes, ever closer. This way comes to me. This way it comes, and that's to the sea, to the sea, to the sea, to the sea. Thank you. My girl walking next to me. They thought you'd be my destiny, you see. I remember how it was before, when the future seemed an open door, frozen in time forevermore for me. Thank you. It was Bluestown. Thank you very much.
So I have Ethel Simmons with me here tonight, and Ethel is actually the director, area coordinator for the performing arts of New Jersey State Fair. Now, that's in Sussex County, not to be mixed up with
Secaucus.
Thank you, Secaucus. So here we go. Anyway, Ethel, tell me, are you enjoying yourself?
I am very much. The music is wonderful.
Have you heard the JDA Project before?
No, I haven't, and I'm enjoying them very much.
Now, do you want them for the fair?
Might possibly be able to find a spot for them. I have to look at my schedule.
Oh my God, they'll be very excited to hear that, and I'm sure they'll do it. They're a fantastic group, And if you haven't heard about them before, please look them up. And remember, if you know anybody that you think lives in the Sussex County area that might like to perform at the State Fair, you can call Ethel. Ethel, what is your phone number and what is your email?
The phone number is 973-903-4573. And you can email me at etlangley1@aol.com. But Donna, I don't have just New Jersey residents. I have the bands that come in from Pennsylvania as well, and a number from New York State.
So you have a tri-state area.
Tri-state
Okay.
area, yes.
So please, if you live in New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Manhattan, where else? Where else would we like to pull you in from?
Well, I did
She'll
have
find a
someone
spot.
from Manhattan to come up one couple years ago. Yeah.
So anyway, please, if you're looking to have actually the New Jersey Sussex County Fair is absolutely one of the best fairs that you'll go to.
We have a beautiful year-round fairgrounds, and it's really well kept care of, and it is a beautiful fair, and there's something for everybody at the fair.
Actually, it's probably, there might be 2 other fairs that I go to, but that's always on my list. All right. Well, thank you, Ethel, and have a great night. Okay.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you.
Let me, and you don't have to answer this, but I always wondered, this probably might have been more of an issue or could be an issue where you have somebody that is still doing drugs or abusing alcohol. How do you handle something like that, or you haven't had?
It's in my recollection, it's never been an issue.
Okay.
Everybody shows up, everybody's prepared. Sometimes, 1 or 2 band members might be a little late, but drugs and any of those kind of behavior things,
behavior modification problems.
It's never been an issue.
Yeah.
That's great.
Thank goodness.
Right.
And if something like that started to rear its ugly head, it kind of gets nipped in the bud.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They would get a good talking to.
Where I've left bands because of that kind of stuff.
Right.
Because it's just like, I don't have time for this. So like, what you do on your own time is fine.
Right.
Right.
But don't bring it to
But don't
rehearsal.
bring
Yeah.
it, right.
When
Right.
you're here, I want you ready to play because
Right.
you're making me do it.
Right.
And
That's
especially
right.
when we used to pay to rehearse.
Right.
By that I mean we rented a room.
Rented
to
a
rehearse
room.
in.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
You're paying by the hour to be there.
Right.
Yeah.
Last thing you want to do is be like,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
drunk or I'm
Right.
stoned.
And we've been doing this for a while, both as musicians, but also as audience members. And
Right.
an audience member, I wouldn't want to see somebody that I paid good money to give us
Right.
Yeah.
a crummy
Right.
show.
Right.
So we feel the obligation to give the paying people in the bar
Right.
whatever.
I often wondered how,
Give them their money's worth and
because
more.
as we both know, growing up in the 70s and 80s, I mean, drugs and drinking were definitely accepted
Right.
and
Exactly. A lot of stuff that people took for granted now, you
Right.
frown upon for a lot of reasons. I don't think it's just because we've gotten older and wiser. I think it's just got smarter, maybe.
right.
Learn
I
from
agree.
other people's mistakes.
Right. Exactly. Well, that's why we're still sitting here.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
So, yeah. Well, I am so excited. And now I'm going to be watching the drummer and the bass player
Yeah.
tonight.
Yeah.
'Cause,
You're going to be on the spot. That's good.
Yeah, no.
We're all going to be on the spot a little, but that's all right.
Oh, yes, you are. Yeah. Now,
It's an adrenaline rush.
it is, of course. I mean, it's got to be, and you're getting to do something that you enjoy, that you love, that you're being creative. I mean, it's so good for the soul.
Oh.
Really, when you think about it.
I don't think that's the bottom line. That's the reason you do it.
Right. Yeah.
You were young. It was you get the girls or something. Like that's typical, but that's very superficial and gets old real fast.
Right. Right.
And the real thing is it filters out.
Of course, he's saying that because his wife's sitting over
That's
there.
possible, but no, in all honesty, it doesn't last. That whole idea
Right. No,
is
it
very
doesn't.
superficial.
It is.
And you weed that out. You find the guys who are just players in the girl sense,
Right.
and the guys who really want to play music.
Really want to play, right? That's right.
And it can be a balance. I knew some guys who were great musicians, and they were not the most
Wonderful
reliable
human beings.
relationship people. Let's put it that way. They played around a little, but
Right.
as far as the band was, that was the one thing they were loyal to.
Right.
So as far as the rest, it was like it's not my place to discuss.
Right.
You know
what
what you
they're doing,
do.
what their personal.
So you're dating
yes,
4 girls at
exactly,
once.
right.
I don't
Right.
care.
Right.
You know.
Right.
It's
Right.
your-
Yeah. As long as
not my
he's
business.
performing on stage and doing what he's
Exactly.
supposed to do.
Right.
That's where you do have to turn a blind eye because
Yeah.
if you're still getting the final product of what you want,
Right.
out of your music, then
Yeah, I don't want to be the morality police on someone's personal life.
No.
well, we've had some presidents like that. You had to put a blind eye up to what they were, doing behind closed doors. But if they were doing a good job, I don't care what he was doing behind closed doors.
Well, it becomes a thing that comes up in almost under any subject.
Right.
But as far as the music is concerned, it's just it's never really come up. I do know that I've played with people who had, like I said, I've left bands, but
Right.
been in bands where someone was fine in the beginning and then they started to have issues.
Right.
And you don't just kick them out. You talk to them. You try to get through it, and then if you can, great. If you can't,
If you can't, right?
Right.
Yeah, because
sometimes you make changes for those reasons.
Well, that's it.
But most of the bands I've ever been that made changes, either somebody just left or you did find someone who's better.
Right.
I like to think that every time we've changed someone, we've changed people in this band a few times. The original lineup that we had, but the very beginning was actually, we didn't know if it was going to be a permanent. It was just we
Right.
put a lineup together because we never played live before.
Right.
And then right away, very short into it, we replaced the bass player because he left.
Right.
And then over time, another guy left, and then another guy came in, and so forth.
Right.
Right.
Each time we try to think of it, at least psych yourself into the attitude that it's better because of that. But what I said earlier for these guys actually isn't just saying it. It actually has been demonstrably better than it had been for quite some time.
That's great. I'm
And
really,
so,
I'm really excited. And unlike how we usually do our show, we're doing it live, which you're going to be, having an audience, which is really nice.
Presumably.
Presumably, no.
In a couple hours.
It's early yet.
Well, and the other thing too is that, let's face it, now COVID is
Yeah, as you asked about the
Out of the way,
COVID, what
you
it
know.
did do is we did make a concerted decision to certainly keep the band alive.
right.
And that's when we were putting out the word for getting a bass player. And then we got him, and then it became evident that we were going to need to get a drummer. But by then it was the vaccines were out and everything else, so it wasn't as testy a situation.
Right.
And he came. We rarely do audition someone more than once, but he was good enough that we wanted him to come back. But we still hadn't made a decision until that very day. That was more or less probably gonna get this guy today, but
Right.
I just want to play with him one more time.
One more
'cause
time.
I don't want to do this auditioning crap
Right.
10
Right.
times, you
Right.
know? Because one of the logistical problems we have is we don't get together often enough because of a number of logistical reasons. And so we make the most of the time we have when we are playing together.
Right.
But that included the auditions, and that was like, didn't want to line up 12 drummers and try to get them all
Right.
come on one day. And
Now,
it's just insane.
I'm
you
going to
know?
ask you this before I forget. So, when you're auditioning, is it do you put an ad out
Yeah.
or is it word of mouth?
No,
or both?
Craigslist.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
wow. Okay.
you just put it out on
Interesting.
Craigslist. There's a musicians wanted, musicians available type thing, and you
wow.
just look to see who's maybe saying I'm a bass player, I'm available,
Right.
or you put out what you're looking for. We were
Okay.
very specific. We were like,
Okay.
hey, we're not little kids. We're not young men in the sense of
Right.
we're not college kids or something like that.
Right. Right.
We pretty much said baby
Got to be
boomers.
serious.
Right. Right.
know?
Well, yeah.
And to pretty much age us in the right category, and then
Right. That's
and then certain specific criteria about the band itself.
Wow.
You know, and
Yeah, let them make an informed decision. Let them know,
Yeah.
you know, enough about with the band and, you know, its philosophy and, you know, direction and everything.
Right.
So
And we were
that,
able to post
you know, they're
links
not
to
going to
music,
come in
so-
and think that, oh,
Okay.
wow, I was expecting, you know, like spandex and, you know, whatever.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, so, you know, we just make,
Wrong next door.
yeah, right.
Russ and spandex. And
Yes.
Yeah.
Clear the room much?
I fell asleep today, got myself in deep today. I awake and then I find all this time been driving blind. I fell asleep to dream, woke up where I shouldn't have been. I crawled into a wall, I bumped my head and fall, that's all. All morning, bitter rain, walking down the streets of dreams. In a night that ends too soon, dancing cabs and limp balloons. I remember our next Halloween, met an underdog and closet queens. When we turned on New Year's Eve, sleeping pills and wild turkeys. Call my show, like shadows on a silver screen. The Great Escape and Steve McQueen. I lift my head to look around, startled, woke up with a scream. Lift my head to look around, find the path to where I'm bound, and as time goes on and on, the tale we told, the race has won. The lesson learned to find the battle nearly won. Calm the voice that rules the night, dragging darkness to the light. Stall plans were put on hold, and now they've gone to gold. A bitter pill to swallow whole, winter wind and violent cold. It's a new song that I write, wishing peaceful days and silent night. You'll see the answer rising. Fall, see the heartbreak leaving. Love sees an echo, pleasing your light. Now comes a new beginning. Now see the feelings begin. When will we be together in the light? An endless dream to be as one. A moment's joy begun. Make it last from sun to sun. That's the goal, first to the last. Feel your heart grow, feel joy abound. Until the end of days. Is it so true, or is it real? Or is it in your way? Your way.
So I have with me here David Pucciarelli. Now, David is an artist, and I have to tell you, if you haven't seen his work, you need to go on Iconic Images. He has done a lot of work with the Yankees, correct,
Mickey
David?
Mantle, yeah, Ron Guidry, Greg Nettles. A lot of the Yankees from the 70s, the championship teams. And we do a lot of artwork for the Mickey Mantle organization, nonprofit, which is a really good organization.
Now, you told me that you're going to be going there in a couple of weeks to do more work with them.
Yes, this year will be our 22nd year.
Wow.
Yeah, so Commerce, Oklahoma, where Mickey was raised.
So you've been doing this 22 years with them?
I've been involved. I've been the in-house artist this will be my 17th year.
That's pretty impressive, David. Well, I have to tell you, we are really, really big fans. My husband and I, we have his artwork all around our house. Well, most of it, anyway. We're trying to get, we have a room dedicated to David.
Very cool.
So, this is your first time listening to the JDA Project. Did you enjoy yourself?
Yes, solid band. Love the guitar playing. Really riffing good. Really
They've got really good vocals too. That's one of the things I like about them. But they've been playing together how many years? I think it was I want to say over 20 years. But anyway, thank you, David, for taking the time to do this interview, and very good luck in the upcoming weeks with meeting with the Yankees. I know they're going to love your work again. All right, David, thank you.
Always a pleasure. You guys are the best.
When you audition, so do you have all the other band members there and you're ready to play?
Yeah.
Yeah, and for the purposes of not trying to, you can't have expectations that somebody who's maybe heard one of your songs 3 times on the internet,
Okay.
Is going to know it. You just pick a few cover songs that everybody knows.
Right.
Because you want to see more how you gel.
Right.
You know,
Okay. All
something
right.
that
So
that they've heard a lot. You know,
Right.
you ask them, what songs do you know?
Yeah.
Right.
And then it's,
Right.
okay, we know that, and then so you just say, let's do that one, let's do this one, let's do that one. And,
Right.
and they say, listen, if you have a chance, I'll send you a song. Or you send them a file. You
Right.
say, see if you can learn this, and that'll be like, it'll be that song and 3 others or something, you know.
Right.
Songs that were originals that would be representative of, what a playlist for a show would be.
Right. And well, it makes sense that you would want them to play, not originals, because this way, like you said, you get a feel for what
How
they've
they can
done.
play. Yeah.
Plus,
And it's a comfort zone for people.
Right, right. Do you find that there are more places, because I know for a while there that bands were like having a real hard time finding places that would hire bands. They'd hire maybe a single solo artist or
A duet.
or even a disc jockey or something like that. Do you find that that's still a problem, or?
The hardest part is getting on the list in the sense of, okay, so you contact places and you find a lot of places right now, they had their roster, of bands that played a lot.
Right.
And everything got put on hold, but when they opened up and started having live music again, they were having the same bands come back. And so to contact them and say, okay, so that COVID is starting to ease up, let's contact these places before everybody jumps in.
Right,
and
before
find
they-
out,
right.
well, they're booked till August.
They're already,
So
yeah.
you're like, well, can we play in September? Can we play in, whatever?
Right.
You're just trying to get on the calendar.
Right.
And I mean, to play here, they had a sign-up thing, and I must have filled it out online 6-7 times. And
Wow.
never heard back. And then out of the blue, I got contacted.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, cool.
Wow, that's,
And
And also there was a certain amount of attrition because of COVID. Some places
right, and
just couldn't stay open.
She told us that was part of it too, because
Right.
some of the bands that they have here fairly often,
right.
some of them just were no longer available, and
Yeah.
she had calendar dates to fill. And
That's
she
great,
said,
that's
she
great.
said, let me see some links. And she says, hey, you guys sound great. And I'm like, thank you. So,
Well,
Hire us.
I mean, that is one of the things with COVID is it worked for some bands and not for other bands. And, people were scrambling. I know a lot of people were scrambling to try to get booked. Well, I'm just so glad that things are starting to open up. That's
and the concert
on
scene in
wood,
general
right?
is starting to open up. They're going to be able to start going to big concerts.
exactly.
See,
I'm just so happy for you guys, and I'm so glad that you actually were able to get on the list and finally get in
Yes,
here.
we're glad as well.
And that worked out wonderful. And again, we are at Blue Arrow Farm, and which is it's actually a horse rescue, a nonprofit, but it's also a venue for bands to get up and play and have a good time. So if you're ever in the area, Pine Island, Blue Arrow Farm, great place. It's for kids all the way up and beyond.
Yeah.
So
To people our age.
yes, people and older, because Don has created something that is, a family-oriented place. And now that, because from the time that I knew he opened up this place, I think there was maybe 2 years where it was before COVID, but he was still getting the place together.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course, then COVID hit, which really killed everything. So now I think everybody's excited because the momentum now, you can forge ahead,
Right.
hopefully, and there'll be a lot more concerts and music and things happening here, and looking forward. Oh, this is wonderful. Like I said, I'm so excited to hear what you've done and what you've created and where
I
you're
think
going.
it's an eclectic bunch of covers too.
Right.
It's going to be interesting. We're hoping the
Right.
reaction will be people go, "Oh, I love this song. No one ever
Right.
plays this
Nobody
song."
can play that,
Because we pride ourselves on that, partly because of the type of lineup we have,
Well-
the instrumentation, everything that we have.
The other thing that's
By
fantastic.
the way, our guy's here,
Oh,
Here he is.
so I'm very happy to know that.
I love the fact actually that you've been doing this since the 70s or so.
Yeah, with different people. I mean,
Right.
different people and different, but that you've been
The
playing that
thumbnail
long,
of this
you
band
know?
is I met Don in 1983
Okay.
in one band, and then we joined another band together.
Okay.
And then from there, we didn't really play together for a long time,
Right.
but we always hung out and knew each other. And then in 84, 85,
85, yeah.
I met Arno.
Yeah.
They were looking for a keyboard player, the band that he was in, and I joined that.
Oh wow.
My tenure didn't last too long because the band was kind of disintegrating,
Okay.
just
Right.
by attrition, kind of,
Okay.
Maybe that's not the right word, but it was having its last days.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, but he and I, first time we ever spoke on the phone, it was like we never talked to each other in our lives, right?
Right.
It was like we'd known each other forever.
Right.
Wow.
Well, I lived in Emerson and Dumont, Bergenfield, in Bergen County.
We all grew up
and
in
he lived in
Bergen
Westwood.
County.
Right.
We started out in Westwood, and
Yeah.
New
so we talk
Milford.
about we're talking about
New
places,
Milford,
and we're like,
yeah.
"Oh, you ever been to this place?" And
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh yeah, I know that."
Right.
And you feel like, okay, so we're kindred spirits, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah, and we've been, making music ever since.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then,
that's
Joel
wonderful.
introduced me to Don.
Wow.
And,
this whole
Right.
thing started. It was silly. Don had gotten a machine that he could record multi-track on, and didn't really know how to use it. And we said, "Oh, let's just play with it." And
Yeah.
so
Have
he
fun.
and I first did one day. We just recorded "We Can Work It Out" by the Beatles.
Oh wow.
Just to play with the track.
to play with the track, right?
And that sounded okay. And I said, "Oh, we should get my friend Arno here." So Arno, oh yeah, the guy plays guitar. He said, "Oh yeah, him, right?" So we had him come up,
Wow.
and so we did another song. Next thing you know, we just recorded 20 Beatles songs.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Just for the heck of it, you know.
right.
But it taught us how to use the machine, and then a few months after we got sort of tired of doing that, it took months to get tired of it, but
Right.
we were done. And said, "Gee, we got along so well doing that. We should try writing some songs together."
I was going to ask you when you started to
And
write.
so that was about 97.
Oh, okay.
And
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
of all the bands I've been in, this is the longest association with any band I've ever been in.
Wow.
Since 1997, there's been some form of this band, or
Right.
at least the three of us involved in
Right.
a creative process.
Okay, so when you're writing a song, is it just one person doing it, or it's kind of
It's all,
everybody?
it's all
input?
over the place.
It often starts with one person,
Yeah.
and then
Okay.
we flesh it out.
Wow.
I'm very prolific. I write all the time. I write all kinds of styles and stuff, and
Okay.
I present things to the guys. Sometimes I'm too lazy to present it because I just want to do it, and I end up finishing the whole thing because I play a lot of instruments. But that's it. It's just but even when I do that, I have. There's been times I've said, I got a song and I really think we could do it, and then I give it to them. The only downside of that is it can influence what they would do otherwise. In other words, if I showed you some real stripped down version of a song, then what you put in is going to be a lot more of you.
That makes sense.
Because there's no way you can. It's impossible to hear something and not be influenced by what you just heard.
Right.
So it's going to color somewhat what you're going to do.
What you're going to do.
But even having said that, every time we've done something that was created in that manner, it always sounded better than the original.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, because when you get that personality of the other people in there,
the flavor.
even if it's just another guy singing it,
Right.
it just sounds different, and that helps to, I think, counteract the other effect.
Right. That's very interesting. I find when I'm talking to bands, and I always ask about is it one person writing most of the music, or is it a collaboration? And I find that most of the bands that tend to stick together, that know one another really well, that they allow a lot more freedom because they know that
I think it's the key.
I do too. I think you're right. Yeah. That makes
A
sense.
lot of times, even when I do have something that sounds sort of like a finished song, a lot of times the guitar parts that I might play, it's like, I will tell him every time, I'll tell Arne, look, it's just a placeholder.
Right.
This is where the guitar is, but you play whatever you want to play,
So before we run out of time, so if somebody wanted to contact you, maybe to play a gig, where do they go? Do you have a website? Do you have a Facebook or?
Yeah, probably. Really, nowadays, the easiest thing is to contact me via Facebook. There is a JDA Facebook. I should have written it down. I don't even know what it is. But the JDA Project is on Facebook on its own page as a group, and also as a JDA Project page.
Okay. So they could always message you.
Yeah, or
that.
they could message me directly. Just Joel Perard. Search me up and
Look you up. Okay. All righty.
make sure they get the right one. There's another Joel Perard from Belgium, where I was born too. But
Oh, no kidding.
he raises horses. He's not me. He raises actually
interesting.
thoroughbred racing horses.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
I looked him up because someone told me about him. I was like, well, that's not me. Look at him. He doesn't look anything like me. He's handsome.
All right. Well, thank you again for joining me. Everybody get ready for a fantastic show. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in. And we will see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Donna's Happy Hour is filmed on location at the Blue Arrow Farm